Okay, this is a video I made after using my Yedi Houseware 6-in-1 Griddler, which is a grill, panini, waffle maker, all that stuff. It came with 2 egg rings, which I had never used before, and I used those egg rings as they were supposed to be used. You know, I made eggs and pancakes with them, but that was not what I wanted. The temperature here is 99 degrees in the daytime and about 85 degrees at night, maybe going to 80 by morning. But at the time I made this video, the temperature was about 87 degrees, and as you can see, I just weighed 2 cookies up at 1 ounce in the video, and then the rest of the cookies are going to be weighed at 1.3 ounces. So basically I used those egg rings in an attempt to make some cookies, and there were only 2 egg rings that came with the machine, but you know, I wanted some cookies, so I tried to make 2 cookies in the machine using the egg rings. And these were sugar cookies, the kind that come in squares, and you put the squares on the cookie sheet and then you bake them. This is sugar cookies by Signature Select. I believe that is a Safeway brand, and these are the cookies I'm using in this video. So I weighed the cookies out. The first 2 were 1 ounce, the rest of them were 1.3 ounces, and I flattened them to less than 3/4 of an inch because the egg rings themselves are 3/4 of an inch in height. And you will see later, after I cook some of the cookies, why I flattened them to be shorter in height than the egg rings. And so the cookies are in the refrigerator. And I also took some Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookie dough, and I made 3 1.3 ounce cookies from that as well. And as you can see, I'm weighing the cookies up and putting them to the side, and I'm going to flatten them as well to try to get them to be less than 3/4 of an inch, which is the height of the egg rings. And you want them to be shorter than the egg rings so that the top of the cookie does not hit the top griddle plate, which will cause it to brown up as if the top was a bottom. And I've seen other videos where people make cookies and biscuits and things like that inside of a contact griddle, and they griddle both sides, and you get a double bottom side biscuit or cookie, and that is not what I want. So here we are. I'm about to melt some butter, and the manner in which I put the butter on this machine in this video is the manner I use continuously now. These are the egg rings. The 2 whitest came with the machine, which is what you do if you're a company. You put your best products with the machine first, and the other ones, which are not as white, are the extras that I purchased. And before I purchased these egg rings, I had to measure this griddle plate to make sure that it could handle more than 2 egg rings, and it's 12.7 inches wide, 8.8 inches deep, which is big enough to handle 3 by 2 egg rings. And so I ordered 4 more egg rings, and I keep these egg rings on this Prego jar because it is the same diameter as the egg rings themselves, the inner part of the egg ring. As you can see, I'm placing the egg rings on the machine with the handles sticking out beyond the edge of the griddle plates, and that is to have more room for the actual rings themselves. If you try to put the handles inside, they will prevent you from getting 6 rings on the plate. And the rings, it's important that they sit so that they are flat, you know, so that they create a seal on the bottom as well as the top when you close the griddle up. It has to be flat contact on the bottom and top of the rings in order to hold in the steam which will be coming out of the cookies or the breads or muffins or buns. And I do have videos on those things as well, using different types of egg rings. And so that's what we're doing. I'm going to take these rings back off to put them on one more time and show exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to also butter up the surface of the Griddler plates I should say, to show the correct way to do it. In some of my other videos, I did it in different ways, different ways I've seen on the internet, and many of them were not correct. Some of them you just slather butter all over the place, and some of them you just spray oil all over the place, and that makes a mess too. The method being used in this video is the correct method if you're trying to bake something without making a mess. So I have other videos where I slather the butter on using a silicone brush, and basically you get bits in places where you did not even cook food, and that's the milk solids cooking, you know, just baking on your surface of your griddle plates for no reason. If you're not going to put food there, you don't need a lot of oiling there, so don't do it. This is the best way to do it. You put a nice thin sheen of oil all over the surface of your griddle plates, top and bottom, and that should be enough to protect them from sticking, protect the product from sticking. Of course, if your grates are new, it shouldn't really stick that much anyway, but like I said, this is the correct way to do it. I've tried other ways, and they just made a mess. So here I'm buttering up the plates. I'm going to put the egg rings back on, once again with the handles sticking out beyond the edge of the griddle plates. That way they're not in the way, so that you can get more of the egg rings on the surface. And this will help to ensure a good seal top and bottom for the egg rings, which will allow the steam, pressure of the steam to build up, which will allow the center of your baked goods on your contact griddle, the center has to cook up. A lot of people complain that, you know, you cannot bake on these because the centers do not bake up. Well, that's because the steam is coming out, and there's no pressure to make the steam continue to rise in temperature towards the center of the baked good, and so the center does not cook. It has to have pressure. Pressure requires walls, and so this is my way of providing the oven walls of the cookies so that they cook all the way through, which is why these egg rings have to sit flat, and when you put it down like this, it has to also sit flat over the egg rings, creating like a seal. And it's not going to be totally flat because where the handles attach, there's a little hump on the egg rings, and these are the directions of the cookie, for the cookie dough itself. This brand, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, cookies about 2 inches apart, 11 to 14 minutes. And inside of the egg rings, they start out about 1.5 inches apart. Probably not 2, but that's okay. Nonetheless, this is not an oven, so those directions do not really apply. But nonetheless, as you can see from the result, this is a success. I probably didn't need to have to cook them as long as the directions said. Even though the directions said 350 degrees, I used 325, and still probably wouldn't need to cook them as long at 325. So as you can see, the cookies are coming off perfectly. The 2 cookies in the top are the 1-ounce cookies. As you can see, they are more brown around the edges, and the browning is more towards the middle than the other cookies. There's a cookie on the bottom that has 2 brown spots on the top of it, and that's from touching the upper plate. And you can see here the bottom of one of the 1-ounce cookies, perfectly cooked. You can see how thin it is, and you can see that the browning around the edge has gone more towards the center. And as you look at a thicker 1.3-ounce cookie, the browning is more towards the bottom of the cookie and did not really move towards the upper part of the cookie. And here's another 1-ounce cookie. Once again, thinner, browner along the edges, which is expected. The dough was refrigerated before I cooked it, so that helps to keep the center from becoming too dry. And here's the difference. You can see the 1.3-ounce cookie, they're hot. It's more supple, and that cookie right there with the 2 dark spots, it was thick to the point where the top of the cookie touched the top griddle plate, and that's the brownie that you get. That's why I was flattening the cookies in the beginning so that they wouldn't touch the upper plate. If the entire top of the cookie touches the upper plate, you're going to have a double bottomed cookie. That's the bottom of one of the 1 ounce cookies, and you can see the browning on the other cookie. It's almost like the bottom. You don't want that. The idea is to make regular oven-like cookies inside of a contact griddle. And these egg rings give you the ability to do just that. And as you can see here, that is the result. And those are the egg rings. These egg rings can be, you can try to whiten them further and clean them by using light bleach water as well as hydrogen peroxide. And you can see I put them in and took them out, and once again preheated the machine up again. And I'm going to put the egg rings back in now, even though they're hot, so I couldn't just pick them up. They lose their heat pretty fast, but nonetheless, I'm going to cook the other 3 cookies. The 3 chocolate chip cookies that I cut earlier are not in this video. I actually decided to use the rest of the entire package and make another video. And I do have another video with the Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. Once again, not a special cookie, not a cookie designed for this, just regular cookie dough put in these egg rings in this machine. And once again, the video speaks for itself. I cannot say if you can get 6 egg rings on your contact griddle plates, because these Yedi contact griddle plates are 12.7 inches across and 8.8 inches deep. So 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 2 is 8. That's 6 rings. A lot of the other griddle plates on other machines are like 11 inches across by 9 inches deep. So they are not big enough to really support 3 cookies across. So you may only be able to get 4 rings, on those machines because they're smaller, even the Cuisinarts. So yeah, I was going to get a Cuisinart, but it did not have waffle plates, and I wanted a waffle maker. So the first thing I needed was waffles. Cuisinart did not have that. And here you can see the cookies the second time. They're a little browner, which means that I didn't have to cook the first batch of cookies the length of time according to the directions. So these could have gone a minute or 2 less. So yeah, next time I'll cook the first batch. If it says 11 minutes, I'll do it for 10 or 9. And the second batch I may do for 8 or 9 because the griddle was already hot, just like your oven or pan on a stove. Once it's heated up, things cook a little faster. The second batch, third batch, they go faster. And this is coming towards the end of what it is that I have achieved here. Something I never thought I would be able to do. It's 99 degrees during the daytime where I am, about 80 something degrees at night. I've made cookies in a contact griddle. Not griddled cookies, not double bottom cookies, but oven-like cookies in a contact griddle. Now once I get the timing down, you will not be able to tell these cookies from cookies made in an oven. And that was the whole point. You can't do this without the egg rings, but I'm glad I got this machine. I'm glad it came with the egg rings. I'm glad I decided to try this because this is, wow, yeah, cookies in a contact griddle. And there you have it, folks.